I was just going to compare two versions of Shoots in this video, but ended up investigating Counter-Strike's jungle-themed maps and how they demonstrate the game's many changes over this past decade. Strap yourself in and prepare yourself for opinions. Win is a graphical improvement, not an improvement. There is a case to be made for the new version of Shoots, which has just been added back into the game again for Counter-Strike 2. It should have been an easy win for this new version. It's over a decade newer than the old one and rendered on a more powerful engine. And yet all this can't outweigh my nostalgia, and it makes me pine for a simpler time. I'm not sure I blame Shoots much for this. The problem is more that it's 2024 and we're talking about Counter-Strike. AR Shoots was one of the OG CSGO maps, available when the game first released. To me, it feels like yesterday, but 2012 is now halfway between the original Counter-Strike's 1.0 release and now. This older version of Shoots had quite a messy, downtrodden appearance, which was similar in theme to the rest of the original CSGO maps before they were replaced for cleaner, more pastel designs, about halfway through the game's lifetime. We saw this happen with Inferno, and then with Dust 2, and now Shoots gets the same treatment. Gone are the dark, contrasty, rickety old wooden shacks with gaps everywhere. Instead we get, oh, hello Ancient, I've seen you before. You look good, but I'm not sure you look nice. To tell you the truth, I've never been a fan of Ancient. It feels like the map Valve made where competitive play was the only consideration, where each bit of the map is designed to be balanced, but they neglected to make it unique or fun. And the result, to me, feels like a bunch of finely calculated boxy rooms, even the outside bits. The map may have slopes and ledges, but it may as well be flat. There's nothing interesting about the map's verticality in the slightest. What makes this a problem, for me, is that it's clearly intended as being a replacement for Aztec, a long-standing jungle map that was popular in older versions of Counter-Strike. Unfortunately for me, I remember that map and how exciting it used to be back when the player base was more rubbish at the game. I remember that map's appeal. It was one of the most unique, vertical and mental map designs of all time. It's just that the player base got better at the game and Aztec got less and less balanced. Even at CSGO's release, the map required serious rebalancing in order to remain competitively viable. I think it could have been done, but instead it remained in casual play for a while before it was removed completely in 2017 and then replaced with Ancient in 2020, which unlike Aztec, sported one of the flattest and most generic map designs you could possibly get, but at least it was competitively viable. And they've carried this visual aesthetic over to Shoots. Like I said, Aztec was a jungle map, included in the game at the same time as Shoots was, but its architecture was different enough to set it apart from Shoots. As far as I'm concerned, CSGO had two different tropical, jungly themes. CS2 now has just one. What a missed opportunity. Valve used to roll out new maps with intentionally new and different themes, and I think they did this in order to expand the game's variety of textures and models that the community could then use to make their own maps with. The new version of Baggage gets it. It's got enough of its own assets, used in a new enough way to pass as being its own unique map theme. Shoots, on the other hand, brings very little that's new to the mapping table, because it was all done in Ancient already. Or was it? I went about Baggage and Shoots just to see how much new stuff Valve had made for these maps. Turns out it's really hard to do. This generator? Overpass. The details on these crates? All from the same decal pack that all the other maps use already. Even this straw roof is already seen in Ancient. This tarpaulin? Nope, used in other maps already. Though, to their credit, these tarpaulins are new, despite me thinking it was the one that was seen on B-sides of Mirage. And this one's new too. Shoots deserves some credit for this drum, which was seen before in Inferno, but not the new Inferno. No, the CSGO version. So while this prop still has Inferno in its name, to my knowledge, Shoots is the first map that it's appeared in. When I search for Shoots in the mapping editor, there are a few new Vars artifacts and this rather dank Guns and Archaeology magazine, which asks if aiming down sights is overrated, and a few new bird and stream sounds, so it's not all reused assets. But the new stuff just isn't used enough to make Shoots feel unique. I guess you could call it an offshoot from Ancient. I suspect I'm giving this Shoots remake more thought than Valve did. They probably saw that CS2 was desperate for more content, so focused on getting Arms Race out as soon as possible. To their credit, they took the time to remake Baggage properly, but maybe saved some time by simply swapping Shoots out for the jungly themed textures and assets they had already made for Ancient. It is, after all, just an Arms Race map. It's not like somebody's going to make a lengthy video complaining that it wasn't done properly. So while Shoots may copy Ancient's visuals, it does at least retain the exciting and unpredictable verticality that older maps like Aztec used to have. It's unusual these days in Counter-Strike to be able to climb so high above the action, but these two new arms race maps seem to embrace extended verticality, and I like that aspect of them. It's a more casual gameplay element that sets this game mode apart from the fiercely competitive core of the game. Unfortunately, Shoot's new graphics do not play well with this aesthetic. If I had to summarise the problem in one word, I'd say outlines. The original map suffered from noisy, hard to read architecture, but I'd argue that overall this new style is even worse. Because the old map at least had 3 distinct horizontal slices to it. It had a washed out floor, contrasty buildings, and then a washed out sky, which led to a stripy, distinctive looking images, where you could at least easily tell where the floor and sky begin, even in thumbnail images. This new version though is not so easy. Foliage and bricks mask the transition from ground to wall, and the trees everywhere mask the skyline. Where even is the skyline? And that's a bit of a problem for a map about standing on rooftops. It's ironic that the new washed out assets have been built around readability, yet totally neglect anything above roof height. And this new visual overhaul is even worse news for the map's other gameplay gimmick. The new baggage has moving conveyor belts everywhere as its unique gimmick. I used to see Shoot's gimmick as being its wallbangable surfaces everywhere. Since most of the map was wood, you could wallbang practically anything, but now it's been turned to stone, and so you'd think the wallbanging would also be gone, but it isn't. Turns out you can still shoot through a lot of the surfaces. Some of the cover that used to provide total cover has now become bangable. In fact, a lot of this cover is now bangable. But what about the stone surfaces? Some of these are bangable too, it's just harder to know what's what. Now the map has become a mixture of bangable and non-bangable stone surfaces. In my opinion, this is worse and even more confusing than having the whole map made of bangable wood. At least then you knew where you stood. But now, who knows? More Counter-Strike content for me to cover, I guess. Would Shoots have been better had it kept the original map but with Source 2 lighting? Possibly, but could it get away with that here in 2024? Or have things changed so much that that's no longer a viable option? But my thoughts on that can wait for another video. So Shoots, a new start for the Source 2 version of the map. It is combining ancient assets with arms race gameplay, the best of both worlds, or the worst? Discuss.